Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rachel Wild, a life coach and tarot reader. Today I felt upon my heart that I should deliver a message about emotions. So that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today. And really what I've just picked up along my path that has helped me release emotions and feel my emotions and express my emotions. So I'm really just going to share with you some of the highlights of what I know and what I've picked up along the way. So first of all, I want to just say that every single emotion that you ever experience is okay. And because it's happening to you, it is real and it is valid, and you have every right to experience it. Whether you're sad, angry, even when you're resentful, bitter, when you are upset, frustrated, irritated, grieving, when you're full of remorse, okay? So I've just listed to you a bunch of negative emotions that we can have the potential of experiencing in life. And because we are human beings at some point or another, we are going to experience negative emotions. It's part of our journey and life experience on planet Earth. Now, one of the reasons why experiencing these feelings can actually be a really good thing is because oftentimes through our experience, we are constantly searching for a better feeling. There's a scale of emotions that you can experience, and for example, if you have been very sad and depressed for a really long time, and that's been your dominant vibration and emotion that you experience, moving up to anger can actually be a good thing for you, because you're coming out of that sadness and you're starting to ascend that scale of emotions. And on that scale, there's a neutral point, and then there's a point where you get into positive emotions like love, peace, joy, happiness, all of those positive emotions that we can also experience on planet Earth as human beings. So just know that whatever it is you're feeling, it's good for you at this moment. You're taking steps in the right direction. It's valid for you to experience it. It's real, it's happening to you, it's okay. So a lot of times when we get really sad about something or we get angry, we're like, why am I feeling this? I don't want to feel this. And we try to divert our attention into a different direction. And what that actually does is it suppresses the emotion within us. And so because emotions desire to come up to the surface and be experienced, when it comes back around again, it's going to come back with more intensity. So if you just shove down anger, if you just shove down sadness, if you just shove down grief, well, the next time it bubbles up to the surface, because it will, and that's what they do, it's going to have a lot more intensity around it, because not only is it asking for you to experience it now again, but it's coming up to the surface with all of that previous emotion that wanted to be felt as well. And so it's really intense when it comes up, and then that's when we find ourselves acting in ways that we never would have thought. The sunlight is coming in bright through my window again. It did this in another video I did recently. I hope everybody can still see me. I'm really glad I'm wearing these sunglasses today. So just know that it's okay to feel it. And so if you've had a tendency in your life of repressing or suppressing emotions down and not experiencing them fully in the moment, and then you deal with, losing your temper, or you deal with a lot of depression or things like this. Um, and you're asking yourself right now, well, how do I start feeling my emotions that come up instead of having that automatic response of stuffing it down? And I want to go ahead and tell you that a lot of times the stuffing it down reaction comes from a feeling of not believing your emotions are safe. Okay, and a lot of times, growing up, for whatever reason, if you exhibited a certain emotion, maybe you got in trouble for it, and so you started to identify this emotion as being unsafe. And so, to keep yourself safe, your ego, your brain, the smaller version of you, seeking to always protect yourself for survival purposes, decided to do what it knew to be best at the time, and that is to stuff down that unsafe emotion to keep you safe from harm that you may have experienced from outside. So this is one of the ways that it can show up. If you got in trouble, either like maybe you were verbally demeaned for having a certain emotion, if like crying, if you grew up in a family where that was perceived as weakness, then you may associate crying with being unsafe or being weak. And if you're weak, you're unsafe, and you want to be strong, right? So this is how it can play out. With other things like, if you're angry, maybe you grew up in a household where anger seemed to be an unsafe emotion to your caregivers or whatever. Maybe there was poor boundaries in the household and people didn't know how to deal with anger, and so it was stuffed down, and maybe you got in trouble if you expressed yourself in an angry way, right? So then you had that association of it being an unsafe emotion because it caused a negative consequence or outcome to arise for you, and maybe even, physically harmful if you were spanked for it or whatever, right? So you began to believe that it was unsafe. So it really helps to come to the realization of whatever the emotion is that you notice you stuffed down, and it could be many emotions. If you lived in a household where there was an underlying belief, and maybe nobody consciously said it, but that expressing really any emotions was the negative thing, and maybe you grew up in a household that was very emotionless for whatever reason, the beliefs of your parents or caregivers, or whatever was going on in society, in your neighborhood at the time, whatever. But it caused you to internalize the belief in some form or another that expressing emotions was unsafe and it wasn't good for you at the time, is what your mind ended up believing. And to protect yourself, like I said, you felt like you had to stuff these emotions down. So once you come to terms with whatever specific emotion it is, I want you to dive into it a little bit. I want you to remember certain instances, right, where it came up for you when you were younger and where you received some kind of negative response that triggered you to believe it was unsafe. I want you to go back to that. Just remember, you don't have to stay there long and ruminate over it, but it's important for you to see where it came from so that you can say now to yourself, okay, thank you so much, inner child, right? Or young adult or teenager. Thank you so much for doing what you could to keep me safe and to protect me and to promote my survival on this planet by coming up with a method that you perceive to keep me safe, right? You're thinking that part of yourself that has developed this tendency, which you might actually be annoyed with today because you're like, why do I always stuff this stuff down, right? Well, go ahead and just give a minute to thank yourself for doing that, because it did act as a protection mechanism for you for many years. And that's extremely smart and clever and brilliant of you and your brain to come up with that so that you could keep yourself safe and survive. Okay, and you can give a little bravo to yourself and a little applause here, because it simply is brilliant when our minds create these things for us to keep us safe. And it's not like we were consciously doing it, right? It's like our subconscious mind did just have our back in the best way that it knew it could. Well, fast forward years later, and you're here watching this video, and you're annoyed with it, you're frustrated with it. You know what that means? You're having these feelings about it now that say, this isn't working for me any longer, which is a great signal for you, because you're being given the message right now, oh, it's time for me to release this, it's time for me to let this go, because it's not serving me anymore and it doesn't work for me to continue doing this. I realize that these emotions just come back up and I experience them with more intensity, and maybe I'm acting out in ways when the emotion is released very intensely after I've stuffed it down, in ways that I'm not proud of. Maybe I'm lashing out. Maybe I'm being mean to people with my words, or even physically harming another person when I get angry. Or maybe my sadness overcomes me so much that I'm hauled up in bed and I don't know what to do. Or maybe I'm lashing out at people through sadness or resentment or whatever. A lot of people who are watching this video now have gotten to the point where your actions that you've taken in the midst of these intense emotions coming out after they've been stuffed down and then they exploded out, right? Because that's what happens. They took action that they're not proud of. And that, even though it's hard to accept, it's going to be super important for you to forgive yourself for whatever happened and realize that that is a signal to you to release what you have been doing. Because see, the thing that did keep you safe before is now becoming dangerous to you and to other people, right? Because if you're acting out in those intense emotions toward other people, not only are you causing harm to others with words or physically or energetically, whatever, mentally, even if you're just like thinking, unkind thoughts about another person or something, you're entertaining negative energy that's going forth in the direction of another person in some form or another. Well, when that happens, you also end up feeling bad about it later, right? You end up feeling some grief, you end up feeling sad or disappointed in yourself. So you're setting off a new chain of negative emotions in yourself, which is dangerous to you to keep doing over a long period of time, because those are just going to be more emotions that you end up stuffing down, which come to the surface. You see, it becomes this pattern. And so it doesn't have to be that way anymore, and the intense reactions on the outside are signaling to you what was once safe is no longer safe. What once served you is no longer serving you. And now it's time to feel, release, and let go. Okay? So once you come into awareness of this and you pinpoint the specific emotion or emotions that you notice you stuffed down, and you go back to some major triggering events that you can recall where you experienced a negative outcome from these emotions, and after you thank yourself for in that moment protecting yourself and keeping yourself safe by coming up with this new tendency that you are going to take on to survive in the world after you've come to the point where you thank yourself for that. Now I want you to simply take a moment and say, I choose to release this pattern of stuffing down my emotions that I have carried up to this point in my life. I choose now to release it and let it go and come into a new way of being that is me experiencing my emotions by feeling them and expressing them in healthy ways. Okay? So go ahead and rewind that if you need to. Say it out loud to yourself. Say it again. I'm giving you the permission right now to go ahead and choose differently. I realize that what was once serving me now is no longer. And I choose to release it and I choose to let it go. The power of choice is a pivotal moment in the shift. Okay? So once we go ahead and put it out there to the universe, if you believe in God or source or some kind of spiritual higher being, higher self, or just the self within you, your own soul as an individual, you can go ahead and call on that power right now, whether you believe it's the source of your power as an individual, the source of God, whatever resonates with you. Know that you have an infinite amount of power backing you up now in this moment that supports the choice and the decision. Okay? So now that we've kind of uncovered how we get to this point and we've accepted it and we realize it's okay, we know where it comes from, and we release the old pattern, now I want to talk to you about what you can do going forward in the moments where you do experience an emotion. What's an alternative now to the previous automatic disposition of stuffing it down? Okay? So now the next time that you feel an intense emotion, I want you to go ahead and right there, when you feel it, right before it goes down the pathway of stuffing, okay, I want you to, and you can say in your head in the moment, I choose to feel this emotion that I'm experiencing right now. I choose to feel my feelings. In your mind, you can bring up the new choice that you have made, okay? And it's going to all happen really fast, and be patient with yourself as you're learning this new process. Just because you choose now, there may be a couple incidences where you do stuff down a little bit, but now it's about becoming aware of each time, and each time feeling it a little bit more than you had before. So you can say in your mind, I choose to feel this emotion that I'm experiencing right now. You can place your hand on your heart in the moment, and you can choose, instead of being in your head, I want you to get into your body in that moment. I want you to bring all of your awareness and presence into what you are actually physiologically experiencing in your body. Okay, you can do this even when you're around other people. They may or may not know what you're doing or what's going on. They may be busy with something else and not even know that you're doing it. If you're feeling like highly triggered, if you're like in the midst of anger, it might be a good idea to step off into a different room or leave your house, go on a walk, go on a drive. But I want you to know this in the moment, especially if it's anger. It is okay that I'm experiencing this. I choose to experience this and feel it. Because for anger, a lot of us, we have a lot of it that has wanted to come out for a long time. And let's get space with anger, because anger is one of those where if it does come out and there's other people around, you could really say or do something that you will regret later on, which is, just like I said, going to cause you more negative emotions to deal with. So save the other person and save yourself and get space, especially if it's anger. Also, if it's sadness or resentment or bitterness, if you have a lot of intensity coming up, it is a good idea to get off on your own so that your focus can be within you and what you're experiencing. If you're around other people, maybe you're feeling it a bit, but then somebody wants to talk to you and conversate with you or whatever, and you start getting distracted or even mad at them because now they seem like they're a barrier to you working this out and feeling it, so you might lash out at them without even meaning to or realize it. So get space to tend to yourself. And when you set the intention, I choose to start experiencing my emotions in the moment, and you choose that, that is going to become your new norm. I want you to take your focus out of your mind when the emotion comes up. Know that it's okay that you're experiencing it, and go experience it. And here's the key, folks. Remember, in the moment, this emotion will end and it will pass. Because when you first start experiencing your emotions again, if you haven't for a long time, when it comes up with intensity, it's gonna keep when you let it come in and you're actually feeling it and it's very intense, it's gonna go on and on and on and on, because you have a lot of it built up that needs to come out. Okay? I want you to know there is an end to it, so just go with it. Feel it fully. Feel it till you can't feel it anymore. This right now, what you're doing is releasing the emotion. See, we don't release emotions by stuffing them down, by suppressing them, or repressing them. They only go away for a little while, but they come back, okay? It's like treating the symptom instead of the root. Well, we're treating the root now. That's where we're at. And when you embrace the emotion, instead of trying to push it away, when you embrace it and you choose to feel it in its entirety, that is when you dissipate the emotion, when you dissolve the emotion, when you stop giving strength to the emotion, and this is how you release the emotion from your body. It moves through you by feeling it, okay? You feel the emotion. So feel it in your body. I mean, I'll tell you folks, when I was younger, I experienced, and I have a different story about it now, but there was a long time in my life where I identified with abandonment, right, from my parents. And years and years and years went by where I didn't come to terms with it, and I would not experience the emotions surrounding that, which was like a profound sense of loss and sadness and grief and remorse. I would just kind of put it off to the side. When I opened up the floodgates to experiencing all the emotions that had built up, for a couple of decades. I was in my 20s when I was dealing with it. And, I have to tell you that sometimes I sat through sadness where my stomach bottomed out, and it kept bottoming out. It was like it bottomed out over and over again. And it was painful to experience it. It's you cry so much until you start like dry heaving. It's intense, right? When we feel these emotions after we have stuffed them away for so long. Okay, but because I've experienced that and gone through that, I can tell you that yes, there is an end to it. So you just feel it, and you feel it so freaking deeply, and you just go there and you just do it, and you meet yourself there, you accept yourself, you hug this emotion, you hug this part of yourself that is longing for release. And when you give this a big old hug and you sit with it and you experience it, you are experiencing yourself. You are experiencing a part of yourself that you have been segmented from. And so this whole process is the process of integration. Okay, you're integrating that very sad, for me, it was a very sad child, very sad teenager, right? That part of me, that was behind the stage for a lot of my younger life and not in the spotlight. And so I had to go backstage, and I had to get up close and intimate with that part of me and bring it on stage and bring it into the spotlight, so that it could be released out into the world, so that I could feel better, so that I could walk around on a daily basis, overall just feeling lighter and happier and freer, and tapping into the process of knowing how to feel and release my emotions, so that moving forward, whenever I do have new emotions that come up, I can release them right away when they're, this small instead of like ginormous, So yes, the key lesson is you want to know how to release them, you release them by feeling them. Now there's a second part to this. You release them by feeling them, you also release them by expressing them. So you feel them and express them. So when the anger sets in, or the intense grief, or the sadness, or the pain of whatever that's coming up, the bitterness, the resentment, the frustration, the irritation, it's all okay. It's all meant for you to experience right now in this moment. And it's bringing you up into a higher level of feeling emotions so that you can ascend through them into the neutral point and into higher emotions, like I said. So when these emotions come up and you're around other people, before you take space, or even after you take space and you want to come back and share, it's super important for us to share what we're feeling with others. So, I'm really angry right now. I feel so angry that I can't even explain why I'm this angry. I don't know where it's coming from, and I need to get space right now, and you go feel it. If you're by yourself and you're not with people, you can also say it to yourself. I'm feeling so angry right now, right? Or I'm feeling so sad, as you're crying. Like, you can say that to yourself and validate that emotion to yourself and express it out as well, right? So you can feel it out and you express it out. And it's really not one or the other. It's really you're doing both. You're expressing them and you're feeling them. Even if it's so intense and you gotta go get space before you can even say anything, like you just have to leave a room and go feel, you can come back. I was so angry. I had to go sit with my feelings for a long time, and I felt it in my stomach or my chest, or you can wherever you felt it in your body. I felt it so intensely, and now I'm feeling better. And you could even share with the person if it's somebody you trust and you want to. You can share with them, I realized that it came from this, and I had to decide to release and let it go. If it's somebody that you have a trusting relationship that you want to share with, if it's a spouse or a partner, I'm sure that they would love to come into a new understanding of who you are as a person, and understand a little bit more about your emotions, and just come into a new dynamic of caring for each other and expressing and seeing each other and understanding each other. So, yeah, emotions go really deep in our lives, and, these are just some of the key highlights I wanted to share with you today. Some of the really key points that I have learned and picked up and implemented through my journey, which has really helped me a lot. Um, just know how to express my feelings, feel my feelings, And I just want to say on a final note, if you're feeling kind of fearful about going there and feeling it because it's really painful, I want you to know that your emotions are going to keep bubbling up to the surface with more and more and more intensity, until you shift this, until you transform this, right? So go ahead and getting in front of the shift and just deciding, get in there, feel it, and it's going to be painful. Just know that you're not alone. There are a lot of other people on the planet who are facing the depths of themselves, even right now at this moment. If you can just imagine, for some reason I'm seeing like some women crying on their yoga mats, or some men, like right in this moment, are taking a drive and are screaming at the top of their lungs anger that has needed to get out for a long time. So know that there are other people on the planet. They have intense things that they have wanted and needed to deal with, and they are doing it, and they're doing it right now as we speak. And we're all connected, so you can ask for help from your brothers and sisters at any time, as far as, I choose to tap into the energy of the people who are facing this right now. And I choose to be lifted up by the fact that I know other brothers and sisters are dealing with painful, intense emotions right now. And they're doing it. And the people who have just done it and went through it, and now they're on the other side and feeling lighter and feeling, better. You can call that energy forth at any time. And sometimes that's super helpful to realize that you're not alone, and to just get a little energetic help from the other people out there on the planet who are doing this right now. All right, everybody. Well, I love you all so much, and thank you for being here and stopping by my channel and spending some time with me today. I love talking about emotions. I'm at the point in my life now where I love my emotions, even the scary ones and the sad ones that come up for me now. I love them. I just love experiencing emotions. Our feelings make life so rich. Really, one could argue that anything that we do in life is actually in search of a feeling experience, some kind of feeling, It's all about feelings here, and I just love getting in touch with them and tapping in. So if you're at a point where you need a little bit more help with this, you feel like you're stuck and you need somebody to help coach you through this, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would advise reaching out immediately, and I will see what I can do to help you with your situation. I would love, 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 love to help people who are going through this just totally shift out of it and be a brand new, person, Susie Q 2.0. So I am so excited for everybody on their emotional journeys, and I love you all. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you would love to hear more videos from me, and I will see you next time. Bye.